Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Wednesday, May 7th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, the offensive progressive, joined as always by Stat Pat, stateless patriot of the Central Valley. We are California lefties talking to you about national politics. State and local sometimes make their way in, but in general, we are talking about what's going on in DC and how it affects you. So I think we are in a prime position, Stat Pat, to be offering an opinion on what's going on because we have turned out to be right about everything.
Oh,
You
of
know,
course.
with
Yeah,
with with this Trump 2.0. I mean, we all said it was going to be like at least Hitler light, if not full on Hitler, and the comparisons I think are appropriate. I don't think it is Godwin's law. I think it's fascism is here, man. MAGA fascism. This is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like. I mean, did you see Kristi Noem get absolutely destroyed today and like wouldn't, respond to due process and the Constitution in some sort of Senate hearing? I caught
no,
it.
I, d-
Yeah,
I, I did not see that.
she's an idiot. I'm not going to give her
Just
any
being
airtime on
stupid.
our, but she's
No,
she's really dumb and
I,
she's just
I-
white trash.
no, of course. I would say that she is just not worth our time if she wasn't like a high-ranking member of the Trump administration. Everybody involved is just such a motherfucking idiot. It's hard to even like quantify. Let alone it's like why waste energy on these dumb motherfuckers
Yeah,
when like
see,
the only
Kristi
reason why
Noem
is
is
because
not,
they're in positions of power.
and Kristi Noem is someone I agree with you. We shouldn't waste our time on her. Stephen Miller, however,
Uh huh.
and Steve Bannon, and a lot of the other guys who, and it's pretty much, and Pam Bondi.
Yeah.
These are actually people who are making their power work for the Trump agenda,
Of course.
and he's still got some loyalty in the general public. You think his polling numbers were there was a poll today, the general public, do you think Trump should go for a third term or not?
That was like
21
yeah.
21% said yes, he should, and then it was like a little bit less than I think it was like 73%
Yeah.
said no.
Yeah,
So
so,
he
like
actually has backed off on. I also think he's just going to be tired and like
no,
that
of
fight,
course.
that would be an historical fight. Like you're battling the
The
Constitution.
Constitution,
Yeah,
literally.
is it really worth it at the ripe old age of like 74, whatever he's going to be?
Oh, he's gonna be like he's by the time by the end of this term, he's gonna be like 83. Yeah, he's
How
he's
old is he
fuck.
now?
Yeah, he's fucking old.
He's
Um,
78. Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
no, yeah. I mean, it's
So he's going to be 81 by the time the
what,
next election comes
what's
around.
especially disgusting is the fact that there was a poll that was conducted on it
He's about to
to
be
begin with.
79, by the way. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. No, it's just disgusting how like there was even a poll that was conducted in the first place. It's like, why are we fucking even entertaining the
Right.
possibility of a
Well,
third?
I'm glad they did run it though, because then it gave him like a hard reason not to do it. But yeah, he's got a birthday coming up. Birthday boy, June 14th. So he'll be
Yeah.
79 in 2025, meaning 3 years from now, if he were going to do that battle, he would
Hmm.
be 81. Really,
Right.
dude? You're gonna wage that war on the Constitution at the age of 81? I don't think so.
A ripe young
So
age. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think he's done. So it's good to see that lose a little bit of momentum because I was getting nervous that he was going to try to go for a third term. And it's the flame
I,
is not extinguished on that,
yeah.
but
It's not a
it's
foregone
definitely
conclusion.
it's a low burner right now.
Yeah. I mean,
And he's
I
backed
still,
off on Canada. I mean, the guy is full of shit. Like this
of
is a
course,
complete
that's
bullshit artist of a human being. He's
no
like a used
kidding.
car salesman. I mean, look at
Yeah.
what he sold. People who are younger than us. I mean, I think you are old enough to remember like when he was doing the Celebrity Apprentice, and you got to see kind of how the gaudy decorating in all of his buildings and how everything like was. If you know what actually first class looks like, you
Hmm.
see that Trump's properties are not actually first class places.
No.
They're
No.
not impressive.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, I was actually in Vegas. not this previous weekend, but the weekend before that. And yeah, right there at the fucking end of Vegas, at the end of the Vegas Strip is Trump Tower. And honestly, I mean, I had time to do so. I should have checked it out. I should have gotten like an impression of what it
Yeah.
was like, and
I couldn't do
excuse
it,
me.
but you should have.
No, yeah, just get
I
like
couldn't. I could never bring myself to enter any of his buildings right
that's
now.
basically exactly how I felt, because it's just like I would the vandal in me would have came
Come
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, but he, I mean, he shouldn't. There's a lot of shit going on right now. There's a lot of shit that he's saying, and there's a lot of stuff up in the air because people aren't sure whether or not to take him seriously, just because of the fact that like so many people's livelihoods rely on like these
Right.
tariffs and whatnot,
Yep.
and the economic turmoil that he himself is sowing, and the fact that the Q1 numbers came out and the economy shrank the first quarter of this year. And who else to blame but Trump? But of course, what the fuck does he do? He immediately comes out and blames Joe fucking Biden. It's
Yeah.
just
No,
like
I mean, he said in
no
the interview with
humility.
Kristen Welker, which I
Well,
mean,
and
do
which
you
we'll
want
get
to
into
just?
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we should probably just have a look at that. But he said in the interview with Kristen Welker that, like, yeah, the good parts of the economy are mine, and the bad parts of the economy are Biden's.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. No accountability.
It's interesting how he did that interview with Kristen Welker. He likes her because she did that debate. Wow, he had a full hour. Ooh, let's not. I don't know if we want to do that.
What?
Um, the full hour. Here, let's see the most important part. Let's
I
see
mean,
the most
I might if
important
it's an
part.
hour, we can speed it up.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's fuck it. Let's do it. It's good content.
Yeah. Just do like
I mean,
1.5
it's a good.
5
It's
speed.
an
Why not?
important. I mean, I think it's a marker. I think it's a marker in
Yes.
the presidency of like if he does have dementia, which I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah.
At
I
least
mean,
a mild case.
yeah. Especially
This is a
considering like
marker.
this is his one. This is like marking the end of his first 100 days in office. This is, I mean, the first 100 days of Trump's second term, like everybody was touting it. Like he himself was touting it. Like it's gonna be the most important first 100 days in presidential
Right.
history, and this and that. It's gonna be so successful. Like we're gonna win so much. But it's been a fucking shit show and a half. So
All right, let's hear it.
this is
President Trump, welcome
yeah.
back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here to mark
Let's
your
hope we
first
can
100
stomach this.
days in office. It has been an incredibly busy 100 days. You've signed more than 140 executive orders. You've been focused on the
Oh,
border,
God,
the
yeah.
economy, foreign policy. What is your biggest goal in the next 100
Yes.
days?
Well, I
Good.
think we're going to see a lot of results. We've already seen them on the border.
Good,
We
good,
have
good,
the
Megan.
best border in the history of our country. It was 99.999, and nobody ever
What?
thought that was possible. In fact, Biden, if you remember, said he has to get
What?
legislation. And I said, no, you just need a new president. And I guess I was right. We have the best border we've ever had. We're doing great on illegal immigration. We are being hit hard by judges that I think they're trying to take away the power of the presidency.
Okay,
I
well,
was
hold on,
elected
hold on. Let's
in a massive landslide and a big, big vote. We won the swing states. We won the popular
deconstruct
vote.
this
We
for
won the
just a little bit.
district vote.
There
Yeah.
are people that are still claiming that like we need a strong border and shit. It's just like, no, I mean, most people that come here that end up being here illegally come here illegally in the first place. People that get here on visas, people that come through ports of entry or fly
I also
in.
don't care. The
Yeah.
immigration system is so fucked.
It
We need
is, yeah.
We need to add transparency
Uh-huh.
to the immigration system. Give me a video camera and someone with political access, preferably someone like John Ossoff, who's got documentary film experience. Get John Ossoff on his camera. You want to be the next
Okay.
president? Go down to the border and act as if you're an immigrant. Go through exactly what they do and document it, and then
Yeah.
show the rest of the country. This is what happens when you show up at the border. This is how you get processed. They make you take off all your clothes, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I can only imagine the indecency that is exacted upon immigrants on the southern border.
No,
The
of
inhumanity.
course. Yeah, without a doubt. And like there are a lot of MAGA types that are trying to claim like, oh yeah, we need like a militarized border and shit, like to stop all this illegal immigration. It's just like, dude, like the people that are here don't come here. A lot of the people that come here don't come here illegally. They overstay their visas. It's just
Right.
like it's not like it's not this fucking invasion that so many of them like to try to claim that it is. It's just like an excuse.
No,
to
I mean there's a
dehumanize them.
there's a wide open lane
Mhm.
for someone to step up and make immigration their issue and say, what the hell have we been doing with immigrants these last 30, 40 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Immigrants are the toughest among us. You know
Without a doubt.
why? Because they're not living for themselves.
No.
They are living and working for their kids.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. Would you
Yeah.
rather have an employee that only has himself to worry about, or would you rather have an employee that has a couple, one or two kids, or maybe even more, wife, whatever, a family that's dependent upon him? So they're going to be loyal. They're going to be a
Yes.
better employee. So, and they're going to be better citizens. And I mean, yeah, like no one has ever called American immigrants tough. And I wish someone would. And that's, I think, going to be the theme of this show for me this year is what do I wish people like John Ossoff and AOC would actually say?
Yes.
What do I wish that they would say? And we'll get more into that, but that's a little tease for things to go.
Votes by tremendous numbers. We won everything. And one of the primary reasons I was elected.
Notice, by the way, he hasn't answered the question. The question was, what are you going to do in the next 100 days? Because now we know what you did in the first 100.
Was to
and also he's attacking judges. He's going after the judges that are like.
Well, I mean, even more. Back it up even more. He just goes right to the southern border. Like he just thinks that's the secret sauce. He thinks all he has to do is drop the border and he wins the argument.
No, of course, yeah, because that's like his base will fucking eat that up like it's it's fucking sugar, of course.
Because they're xenophobes.
We have prisoners, we have murderers, we have terrorists in our country, we have people from mental institutions that are seriously insane. They all came in through Biden.
Do you know why he thinks that? Is because of asylum laws. He thinks that an insane asylum and political asylum are like related.
He thinks they're the same thing. It's so like the word asylum.
He's that basic. He's that basic of an intellect.
Yes.
He's an
when
idiot.
you actually dig into his reasoning, if there even is any reasoning at all, it's the fact that like he conflates political asylum with insane asylums.
Yes.
You know, if he's so worked up about asylums being emptied and shit, and they're sending all the crazy people here and shit. It's just like, motherfucker, Ronald Reagan emptied all of them in the 80s.
Right.
You know, and like we haven't recovered since then. All the insane people, they've just been wandering the fucking streets of America. It's like we're not taking care of these fucking people, these transients, these houseless individuals. So it's you're but like let's just blame the fucking immigrant, I guess. Let's go.
Biden's open border policy, and I was elected to get him out and to seal the border, but to get him out. And we'll have judges, they're activist judges. They're saying, well, you don't have the right to take out murderers and people that you don't even want to talk about. These are some really bad criminal people, and they're here illegally. So, they talk about your next question will be due process, but they talk about due process. But
of course, you got to conflate the people here illegally.
We're going to talk about all of that. We are going to talk about deportation, but I want to start on the economy, sir, which obviously the biggest issue for voters. We got new numbers.
Civil offense is not a felony.
Expected job numbers.
Much better.
At the same time, the economy shrank in the first quarter. You've been arguing all week that this is President Biden's economy. Is this now your economy, sir?
Yep.
I think certain aspects of it are. Costs are. I was able to get down the costs, but even that, it takes a while to get them down, but we got them down good.
What costs?
$5 to $6 billion a day with Biden. $5 to $6 billion. And I've got that down to a great number right now in a record time. We're talking about 100 days. But just think of what that is. $5 billion a day we're losing on trade. And we were very tough with China, as you know. We put 145% tariff on. Nobody's ever heard of such a thing. And we've essentially cut off trade relationships by putting that much of a tariff on. And that's okay. We've gone cold turkey. That means that we're not losing.
Huh?
We lost $1 trillion.
What about is okay?
China. $1 trillion. That means we're not losing $1 trillion when we go cold turkey because we're not doing business with them right now. And they want to make a deal.
Still, like Kyle Kalinske makes his point all the time. He has no idea what a trade deficit is.
No, he doesn't.
He has no idea what a trade deficit is. He's so fucking ignorant.
Yeah.
He's not just ignorant. He's stupid. He's just dumb. He has an underdeveloped intellect.
Yeah, he's fucking stupid as fuck. I like not enough. There's not enough words in the English language that I am capable of fucking laying out for everybody on how stupid this motherfucker is. A
Make a
trade
deal. They want
deficit is not inherently a bad thing. It just means that you take in more than you
Right.
export from any given country. It doesn't mean that like it means
And if
like
that country's really small, then of course, you know, I mean,
if they produce more shit that we can't make here, it's not necessarily a bad thing that we import more from them because like fucking some shit just doesn't grow or isn't fucking found here in America. Like I cannot believe I have to fucking repeat this shit. A lot of people still don't fucking get it. Sorry,
that means we're not losing $1 trillion when we go cold turkey because we're not doing business with them right now. And they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal very badly. We'll see how that all turns out, but it's got to be a fair deal. But think of it, we're losing $1 trillion. And that was a big part of the $5 million a day.
That's another thing.
I want to talk about China, but just staying on
So,
this
like,
idea of the
there's
economy.
some
On even your
countries,
inaugural,
especially the countries that export a hell of a lot of shit to us, don't have the GDP to fucking import a bunch of American goods because, like, for one, not a lot of them really even fucking need American goods to begin with, and secondly, it's like some other countries aren't as consumerist as we're the most consumerist fucking nation on the fucking face of the earth. So again, a trade deficit is not an inherently negative fucking thing, Donnie boy. Go ahead.
inauguration, the stock market spiked. You called it the Trump effect.
Oh, hey,
you
Dad.
Because I
Hey,
was
my
elected
dad
president. Well,
joined.
it's spiked because of anybody else. It's
My
spiked
dad's
because they
here.
see what I'm going to do. They know
That
what I'm
says,
going to do
"Chill,
with
you're
the
not
tariffs and everything
exactly
else. And
correct."
I think it's
I'm
actually working
kinda
out better than we
correct.
anticipated. Did you see oil prices? Did you see gasoline is now below, in many cases, in many states, below $2 a
Yeah.
gallon,
That's
198,
not true.
199,
That's
197.
true.
Well, my question,
Can you
sir, is
repeat
That's
it?
not
Can you
true. That's
repeat
actually
rewind
that's a blatant lie. And she should
rewind it
know.
20 seconds?
Yeah. Sure.
Working out better than we anticipated. Did you see oil prices? Did you see gasoline is now below, in many cases, in many states, below $2 a gallon,
Not true.
198, 199, 197?
No.
well, my question,
That's not true.
Not
That's
even
not
in
true.
the not even the poorest states either.
The lowest average gas price is Mississippi, and it's at like 267 or something like that.
Right.
sir, is when the stock market spiked, you said this is the Trump effect. When the numbers weren't so good earlier this week, you said it's the Biden effect. Are you only taking ownership of the good numbers and not the bad numbers?
I think he did a lot of very bad things, and despite some of the bad things, we're overcoming them. But he was bad on the border. He was bad on the economy. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country. Look, Biden gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. People
And he
didn't
got
matter
it
what they made because they
down.
were losing
Like
their
the end of his term, it was down to like 2.4%.
shit because of course.
Yeah, I know. It's the same talking points, dude. He's just he's like a
No,
one
yeah,
of those
he can't-
pull string. He's like one of those pull string action figures, right?
No,
Like,
of course,
just
like
you know,
nothing
he's
can
got
be
like 5 different things that he says.
Yeah, nothing could ever be his fault. He has to divert the blame to like whoever and whatever, you know. It's like fucking the first quarter, which he was president for the majority of the time, he has to blame on Biden, like despite the fact that
Because
like
he's a child.
no,
He's
yeah,
a child. It's like a you know, what does a man do when he fucks up? He admits he's made a mistake and he learns from it so he doesn't make the same mistake. This asshole makes mistakes left and right. He's gone bankrupt 6 times, but it's always somebody else's fault. The only reason he became president was because of The Apprentice. It wasn't because of his real estate fortune. It was because
No.
he was in people's living rooms for over 10 years and
yeah,
like was kind of viewed as like this A-list celebrity that every other celebrity had to like kiss the ring of if they wanted to come across as a winner.
yeah.
You know, you got like
he's-
Donald is entitled to tell America who among celebrities is a winner and who isn't.
Yeah, he just wanted to sell his brand. You know, that's that's basically it. Like his brand is what got him to where he was. Yeah, Maggie says 243 in Kentucky. Fact check on that. 257 Mississippi. Either way, it's not under $2.
257 in Mississippi, so it was off by 10 cents. But yeah, Kentucky, good for Kentucky. Those are some powerhouse economies. Kentucky and Mississippi,
Yeah.
really bringing it.
Yeah,
You know what? They're so net negative. Those states are just dead weight. They don't fucking contribute like California and New York.
No, of
Florida.
course.
Now, if you said Florida, that you know that's something because so many people live there. But it's still just
Yeah.
a vacation place.
No,
Like,
sure. Yeah. And I mean, even so, like tourism has dropped like significantly around the entire country.
Tourism's a huge part of the economy.
especially in
Huge part of the
Florida.
economy.
Huge.
Yeah.
And now fucking Ron DeSantis, that whole state is now like, oh shit, our immigration, the labor that we get from immigration, it has
Right.
fallen off a
It's
cliff.
blown away.
So
Right.
now they're fucking changing the labor laws to see if they can get more children to work the jobs that
Yeah.
are being left over from the
Yeah.
from fucking immigrants. All right, go
Yep.
ahead, continue.
Of course. Now take a look at what happened. Oil is down, gasoline is down, groceries are down, eggs. You were the one that asked me. You asked me about eggs. It was the first week. I didn't even know anything about what were you talking about. Egg prices were so high you couldn't buy eggs. They didn't have any eggs. And he said Easter is going to be a disaster. Well, we had Easter at the White House, and we had thousands of eggs, and they were down 87%.
Yeah, a lot of that, of course, spike was because of bird flu. But when does it become the Trump economy?
Why do you say that?
Well, tell me,
we had the same bird flu as he had.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now.
Like, no
and I
shit,
really mean
dude.
this. I think
Okay,
the good
so
parts
stop
of it-
blaming
When
it
does
on
it become
Biden. You know, like fucking, like, okay, it's a frustrating thing because like the egg prices, sure, you don't have to blame them on Trump, but it's like you can't blame them on Biden. Like bird flu is completely separate from whoever the fuck is in power. You know, god damn it, dude.
Become the Trump economy.
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything, from his auto pen, which I'm sure he knew nothing about some of the things he was supposedly signing, to immigration. You look at what happened with immigration, how bad it was. Think of it. We have murderers, 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Think of that. And they're in our country. Now, we've gotten a lot of them out, and we know who many of them are, and we're on the hunt. But why would anybody do that? Why would anybody, who could do such a thing? Would it allow hundreds of thousands and even millions of people into our country who are criminals and murderers at the highest level? Who would do that?
But sir, you acknowledge when you announced your tariffs, for example, the stock market dropped. It's been volatile. It has since gone up. Do you take responsibility for that? Yeah. Do you take responsibility when it drops?
Ultimately, I take responsibility for everything, but I've only just been here for a little more than 3 months. But the stock market, look at what's happened in the last short period of time. It didn't have 9 or 10 days in a row or 11 days where it's gone up.
The stock market overall is
have
still
just started
down
kicking
like
in.
almost 10%, dude. Like
Again, it's the
like,
stock
since you
market.
took- yeah, since you
Again,
took
it's the
office.
stock market. Other than people's 401ks, which aren't a good idea anyway. The
Not
people,
entirely.
most like 90% of Americans, you know, over half of America doesn't own stock.
Yeah.
And the top 10% of households in America that do own stock own like 90% of publicly traded stock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the stock market does not indicate how things are going in the country in a macroeconomic way.
And you would think with like the more wealthy people are and the more stake they have in the stock market, that they would have more influence on the Trump administration, but that just doesn't seem to be the case.
Right.
You know, he's just fucking doing what he thinks is right, and you know, fuck what everybody else thinks.
And we're doing really well psychologically. I mean, the fake news was giving me such press on the tariffs. The tariffs are going to make us rich. We're going to be a very rich country.
So let's talk about the tariffs. And I want to ask you about something you said this week. Got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30. And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna make us so rich. It's gonna make us so rich. Like, I can't fucking stand this shit. I like this still to this fucking day, since Liberation Day, has not made sense to me whatsoever. Okay, so tariffs, right? If you want to bring manufacturing back, if you want to incentivize companies that are not beholden to America to come back to the United States, why would you implement tariffs, especially 145% tariffs on China, which has like a near monopoly on so many goods, on so many materials? Why would you do that before building the infrastructure here first for those countries, for those companies to set up shop here in America? Because not only do these companies not have any loyalty to the United States for any reason, because these are multinational companies, multinational. They're not beholden to any given one specific country. So if the infrastructure is not here, if the incentives are not in place for these companies to invest here in America, why would you put fucking tariffs on all, like every single country, especially China, who fucking a lot of these companies rely on importing goods for. Like, so, like, say for instance, these big tech companies, if you want them to to start building and investing here in America, why would you like say if they like, okay, we're gonna invest billions in America, you're still putting tariffs on the countries that they need to import goods and materials for in
Yeah.
in the first place.
Yeah, you're
So
just jacking up operating costs.
yeah. So it's like what this is the biggest single tax hike on America, on consumers, and on businesses, especially small businesses in American history, without having to use Congress to put this tax increase in place. It doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. It's like, why pay for the tariffs when you can just set up shop fucking elsewhere? Why do business in America? That's why fucking everybody's taking their bonds out. Everybody's fucking everything, like all the treasuries and bonds that were invested in, they're fucking just like, okay, I'm just gonna take this and just like we'll fucking invest somewhere else. We'll set up a trade deal somewhere else, and like maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but that should tell you that the trust in the United States as a safe investing opportunity is fucking gone.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
the rest of the world is not going to trust us after this presidency.
No, of
$30.
course,
I think they can have $3 or $4 because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could have $3 instead of $30, are you saying
Say they don't need
Americans
$30.
could see empty store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that.
We are so childish. We get caught up in eggs and dolls and all these little microcosmic offerings rhetorically from political figures and commentators, and it's just so basic. Where's the sophistication? Where's the details? Where's the data? Like, come on, Kristen Welker. And I like Kristen Welker, but there have been at least 10 times where she could have, the gas prices, for example. Like, how did she not have a producer in her ear being like, that's not true?
Yeah. So both Megan and my dad, who are in chat, have pointed out to me, apparently it's under $2 a gallon for the bulk price because companies buy
but
it
consumers don't buy it in bulk.
No, right, of course. Yeah. So like I mean, like Trump has a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to like
well, then she should know
that. Right.
Should...
Sure. No, yeah, I agree.
Details matter, man. In fact, details are kind of what separate winners from losers, isn't it? Like, doesn't attention to, like, take Michael Jordan, for example. Like, Michael Jordan was obsessed with the details of his game and wanted to get everything right or do everything as best as he possibly could. Like, that's what America's supposed to be. And instead we get this fucking douchebag.
I'm just saying they don't need to have $30. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
But you're basically saying there could be some supply shortages because of the tariff.
Waste money on a trade deficit with China for things we don't need, for junk that we don't need.
Well, prices are already going up on some popular items, tires, strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing, what he did, he spent like a stupid person.
California, New York, highest gas taxes in the country, and that's without a doubt, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, they have the highest everything in the country because they're the most desirable places to live.
Yeah,
the economic centers. I'm gonna dig up some research. I went back and you can see the economic contributions to our GDP on blue states versus red states. The only red state that really can hang with the big boys are North Carolina and Georgia. Those are the only economically significant red states. All the other red states are not crucial to the functioning of our economy.
No, yeah, they usually have a deficit, whereas like bluer states have more of a surplus, or at least less of a deficit.
Stupid person, and that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us with inflation was the price of energy. It went up to $3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6. Right? Okay, I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now. When you go that much lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction, because I really thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places. But when you say costs are going up, even mortgage rates are going down.
Well, but let me give you some examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices that are going down, some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your tariffs.
That's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on day
Well, I don't know. When you say strollers are going up, what kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline
this is the thing. Like he's been continuously moving the goalpost. Oh, like everything's gonna be good for like the first day. That moves along to like, well, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait. Like,
he already did that earlier when he said, "Well, I've only been here for 3.5 months or whatever." And it's like, well, you were talking a big game about your first 100 days being the best first 100 days in the history of America of any president.
Yeah,
so
I'm
what
sure
happened to that standard?
Yeah,
he like you said, he moves the goalpost. I don't really like that expression. I prefer like just changing
lying,
just changing the criteria by which we evaluate quality.
No, yeah, I mean, and that like applies to the fallacy of moving the goalpost. But yeah, I agree.
Thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want and they need relief right now?
And they're getting it.
Right now? What about those?
Even mortgage rates.
Different items I just
mortgage rates are going down, despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, $35. You can have 2, 3, 4 and save a lot of money. We don't need to feed the beast.
I guess you're talking about this transition cost. How long should people expect that transition to last, Mr. President?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that.
And that's the other thing. It's like, it's going to be a transitionary period. And like, we should we have to wait for the deals. They're going to come in. Like, we're going to make all these trade deals. Not a single trade deal has been made. Apparently, just before getting just before going live, Trump announced that there was a trade deal in place. This channel I follow, Meet Kevin, said, a major trade deal announcement that Trump did. I still know the details of it, so I guess at least what? A little over a month later, finally, after Liberation Day, there's a deal that was made and whatever. And also, my dad says, I think we can all agree that until the trade deals are done, things are going to be a shit show. Megan says, we made a deal with El Salvador. I am not going to say anything in response to that because it might get me banned from YouTube. And also, it'd be fucking not appropriate for this stream. Go ahead.
Right. Again, we're losing more than $5 billion a day. $5 billion a day. You don't talk about that.
Nuts.
And
that's true.
Right now, we're going to be at a point very soon where we're making money every day. Look,
how soon?
We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars with China. Now we're essentially not doing business with China. Therefore, we're saving hundreds of billions of dollars. Very simple.
You take me to my next question, which is about China. They've been making a number of public statements.
Very positive statements the last 24 hours.
Well, and most recently, they said before talks could happen, the U.S. would need to remove unilateral tariffs. Would you consider dropping the tariffs to get China to the negotiating table?
No. They first of all, you're giving me a statement that was said a week ago. You're not giving the statement that was said today.
I have May 2nd Chinese Commerce Ministry.
Do you know what they said today?
The U.S. wants to negotiate. It should show sincerity by preparing to take actions in correcting its mistakes and canceling the unilateral tariffs.
They made first of all, they made numerous statements.
Yes, they've made numerous statements.
People speak for China. It's like 50.
They've made numerous statements.
I can give you a statement for any occasion.
Yes.
But they said today they want to talk. Look, China, and I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. China's getting killed right now. They're getting absolutely destroyed. Their factories are closing. Their unemployment is going through the roof. I'm not looking to do that to China.
Well, here's
now, at the same time, I'm not looking to have China.
Both countries are getting fucking obliterated right now. Like, the ports in America are, like, the traffic is down like 35, 50%. According to Asia Times, which I'm not sure if that's even a reputable source, they say that China is in a deflationary death spiral right now. So I think there is validity to the fact that they are desperate, which is why they're reaching out to multiple countries, and they're actually
Eurasian. The Eurasian.
Yes,
they're trying to come up with a trade deal with the European countries.
Yes,
and connect with Europe. There's also kind of a concerted effort to just become more economically independent from America in general right now. That's the big public sentiment in developed nations abroad.
Yeah. My dad says that they do need to have their developing country classification removed, and I'm surprised that that's still a classification that they're being beholden to, or at least being labeled. But I mean, early on, even like they actually reached out to Japan and North Korea, like, hey, let's have a rigid trade deal, and not to mention, since Trump's first term, since he first put tariffs on them, they realized like, oh shit, we cannot continue relying on the United States. When it comes to trade, we need to be a lot more self-reliant. We need to rely on more than just the United States because they're fucking unpredictable. Like if they're going to elect leaders like Donald Trump, like we can't be like so closely aligned and closely tied when it comes to trade. And I don't blame them whatsoever.
No, man. I mean, these last 8 years, we put the world through chronic anxiety with our presidential politics. It's been gross and embarrassing, historically embarrassing.
Yeah.
Have China make hundreds of billions of dollars and build more ships and more army tanks and more airplanes.
So you're not, just to be very clear, you're not dropping the tariffs against China to get them to the negotiating table. Those tariffs are staying on.
Why would I do that?
Would you lower them?
At some point, I'm going to lower them because otherwise you could never do business with them. And they want to do business.
Yeah, no shit. Look, like they got so high to the point where it's like it doesn't matter how high the tariffs are that the U.S. puts on us at this point. Like there's no point in responding to them because it's just like it's over the threshold of what is even deemed necessary. Like trade is completely halted because like the tariffs are so high, they're so fucking unnecessary at that point.
Economy is really doing badly. Their economy is collapsing.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs, and some could be forced to shut down.
And many businesses are being helped.
Are you considering tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what's Trump's done for the automobile? I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happening. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car industry instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers?
Well, I'm just asking.
It was disappointing by Fain, though, to hear him like give Trump anything. Like,
no, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does he not understand like we're at war? Like this is the enemy. This is the enemy, Sean.
No.
And he hurt himself with his political aspirations by doing that. Progressives loved him. Progressives loved him.
I mean, not to mention, it's just like, why are you trusting Trump on anything he says? What about his policies currently as it stands is good for the automotive industry? It's like we're not having companies that are like flocking here to like build in America because it's just gonna like fucking cost more for them,
Right.
And we've already signaled that we're being hostile towards Canada and Mexico. So it's like, if those countries are continuing to be friendly towards labor and imports and exports, why wouldn't they just stay there? Why even fuck with the United States?
Right. Why bother?
Yeah.
I'm just asking you about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
They're going to make so much money.
Are these tariffs?
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Are these tariffs permanent, Mr. President?
And that's the thing, too. It's like I was fucking saying earlier. It's like you still need to import parts from other parts of the world.
Yes.
If you have if you have tariffs on those fucking imports, then it makes little fucking difference.
Well, I saw a advertisement from Hyundai earlier today that was showcasing their factories in like Alabama and Georgia and stuff. And I can't help but think that has something to do with Trump and being like, hey, look, we're building the cars here. We're building the cars here. But it's like you just said, all those parts that go into making those cars come from other countries.
Exactly. Motherfucking like, hello.
Talking about one of the things that is going to bring and has brought. So I think we probably have close to $9 trillion of investments coming into this country. If you look at other presidents, there's never been anything like that. This is over a period of 2 months. You got to give me a little break under 1 month because we're 3 months. But let's say we had to get started. We had a lot of fake news at the beginning, so we had to beat that down. But so let's say in 2 months. So in just a short period of time, a matter of a couple of months, we have the largest number ever in history invested in the United States and committed. We have between guaranteed spoken for and people that are going to make a decision and announce it pretty soon, close to $9 trillion. We've never had anything close. Now, that's
you know
Apple
what the problem is
Maybe,
with
maybe.
journalism. You know what the problem is with journalism in America today is that
Not as-
is that people go into journalism thinking that all they need to know is journalism.
Yeah.
That they don't study economics. They don't study history to the extent that they should. I want my journalists, I want my investigative and my political journalists to be the most well-educated, most diversely educated person in the room. And Kristen Welker, like I said, I like her, but she's missing a lot of opportunities to be like, no, that's wrong. That's wrong.
No,
that's
sure.
Wrong.
And this is the thing too. It's like there's such a slowly a consistently thinning line of journalists that the Trump administration will agree to do these kind of in-depth interviews with, and journalists that will actually challenge them in an actual efficient, effective manner. So you're not going to get someone that's as confrontational or as adversarial or assertive in any aspect, because they'll just fucking end of it, the interview, and then just fucking smear them for daring to challenge them with the most simplest questions to actually push back on the bullshit that the Trump administration or Trump himself pushes. And of course, the Trump administration is going to want to going to want to talk to someone that isn't as hostile. So walking that fine line, it just it's more and more difficult every day with the further attacks that the Trump administration makes on the media. But and it also is it also depends on the media to not be afraid to fucking push back against their bullshit.
Building $500 billion worth of plants. They always built their plants in China. Now they're building their plants over here. And that's the biggest computer company, the biggest chip company in the world. You know, the chip company from Taiwan, which is the biggest in the world, is committed for $500 billion. Another one's committed for $300 billion. We have companies, nobody's ever seen anything like it. Let me tell you the other thing, very importantly, automobile companies, plant after plant after plant, Toyota, Honda, Ford, General Motors.
Notice how he's thinking entirely in terms of, you referred to them earlier as multinational corporations. The corporate word that, at least when I was in corporate America, that was used instead of multinational corporations, because there's like an ominous sound to that, like, oh, multinational corporations. So like the corporations that run the world. And it's like, yeah, but the other way to describe them is transnational corporations.
Yeah.
And that's all he thinks of
Sure.
in terms of the global economy. He doesn't think of the global economy in terms of actual independent countries with companies inside them. He thinks about transnational companies who cross borders and who influence governments. And that, he's not aware of his methodology behind his critical analysis, but that is the paradigm for him, is the transnational corporation. He worships at the altar of the transnational corporation.
Yeah, it's not only that too. It's like, who's going to scratch my back? Who's going to be beholden to me? Who's going to serve me? Who's going to make
he's also talking about the companies because
he's
also talking about the companies because they're the ones who are actually going to benefit from his policies, whereas the citizens are not. Notice that's really the thing, is he's not talking about the welfare of the citizen.
Of course,
he's only talking about the companies. Oh, we got this company investing this and this company investing that.
Yeah, just the wealthy.
Is that going to actually lead to more jobs, more higher paying jobs? No, it's not.
Yeah,
unemployment's going up.
Yeah,
Stellantis. I mean, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I don't like this, but it happens to be. They're stopping work in Mexico and they're stopping work in Canada, and they're all moving here.
This is important, though. You're not taking the possibility that these tariffs could be permanent off the table. Some of them.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, because if somebody thought they were going to come off the table, why would they build in the United States?
You
understand that, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I'm asking, because there's a lot of, I think, uncertainty for CEOs, for business owners. They want to know, are these tariffs permanent?
I think there's only uncertainty in the fake news. I don't think there's uncertainty. I mean, I've been very rigid, very strong on it, but I will say I'm flexible. With respect to parts made outside of the country, I gave the automobile companies a little extra time. You're talking about 15% and then 10% of the parts put in a car. I gave them a little extra time without penalizing them. And I did that only to help, companies. We're looking to help companies. We want them to thrive and to hire a lot of people. And that's what's happening.
Let me ask you about some of what Wall Street has said. Some
Well,
people
a
on
whole
Wall
bunch of
Street
them
have
are
expressed
laying off
concerns
people.
that the possibility of a recession is increasing. And I want to know what you think about that. Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I like to tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on Wall Street say this is
well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
There are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And that's my question. The long term. Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
Windfall ever.
He is skilled at getting the upper hand in the conversation. He talks like a teenager, and he argues like a child, but he is good at getting someone that hates him to be like, oh yeah, you're not wrong. And it's like, do you know what this guy stands for? Like, what are you doing? Like,
ever happened?
And that's my question. The long term. Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
Look, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically. One of your colleagues on another fake news station, ABC, said, do you guarantee 100% that a certain person is going to do a fantastic job as, let's say, Secretary of Defense? Okay, because that was the question. I said, what kind of a question is that? Do I guarantee 100%? Nobody guarantees 100%. But I will say this. I think we're going to have an economy the likes of which we've never had before. My 4 years were phenomenal, as you know, the stock market. In fact, even though we had to go through the COVID thing, that horrible situation with COVID.
My dad makes actually a good point here. I've come to the conclusion that this is Trump's form of trickle-down economics.
Yes.
And I couldn't agree more. Like, honestly, it's like...
Yeah, the policy playbook is the same, dude. So
yeah,
it's
how you sell it, yeah.
The policy playbook is the same. Let me see. Which one is it? It's the three primary policy positions of right-wing America. Tax cuts for 1%ers and corporations, military spending, and politicization of our courts according to right-wing fundamentalist Christian values. That's not, and then slashing spending is related to tax cuts too. The fiscal policy, Reaganomics has been tried by every conservative president since 1980, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just came across as interesting idea because we had been on the FDR train for 40 years.
Yeah.
In terms of how we manage our domestic economy. But then a guy named Bill Clinton came along and fucked everything up for the Democratic Party too. It was one thing to have one party that was fucked up in the Republican Party, but then when you have Bill Clinton come along and make the Democratic Party, a Republican light, then that just screwed us for the next 25, 35, 40 years.
Right. No kidding.
Bill Clinton's got to go down in flames. Go ahead.
Yeah, Megan says go off. Like she's cheering. Like completely correct. Exactly.
Yeah. No, remember my 3 sci-fi films to explain American politics.
Yeah.
Politics, what happens between politicians is Star Wars. Policy, the actual laws, is Star Trek. And political marketing, the salesmanship of that policy to the American public is Jurassic Park. Because you've got to kill dinosaurs. And the big dinosaurs that we got to kill are Reagan and Clinton. Everyone else will wither if we just hold the notion that those were good presidents. They were, we had another dichotomy, public memory versus history. According to public memory, those were good presidents. Not true.
Not true.
According to history, they're not good presidents.
No.
We did numbers, and when I handed it over, the election was rigged, and because of that, we have a lot of problems, by the way. But when I handed it over, what happened? The market was higher than it was previous to COVID coming in. Yeah. Nobody could believe it. The stock market I'm talking about.
I don't want to look back, but you did take your case to court about that. You took your case to court about your allegations against the election. Let me ask you,
There's no question about it. The election was rigged. The facts are in, and it's still being litigated. Let's go.
You did take your case to court.
Bro, give it a fucking rest already, dude. For crying out fucking loud. Like, give it a rest.
That up.
What are you talking about?
How worried are you?
Are we talking about the election?
Let's talk about here and now. Let's talk about
the election of 2020.
Let's not talk about. Let's talk about here and now. Are you worried about a recession?
My dad and Megan are highly in agreement.
I think we're going to have the greatest economic.
Are you worried it could happen? Do you think it could happen?
Anything can happen. But I think we're going to have the greatest economy in the history of our country. I think we're going to have the greatest economic boom in history.
Let me ask you.
He's like a poor man's Don King. Do you know who Don King is? A famous boxing promoter. He was like big. He got big with Tyson. He became like a huge in like the in the 80s. And he was a hell of a promoter. Like the guy would get on the mic and he had this ridiculous hair, his ridiculous look. And it's like Trump, you know, he would say all these, he would actually come up with some pretty creative ways of promoting his boxing fight, the fight that, you know, was coming up on pay-per-view or whatever, that everyone was going to have to shell out $60. And now Trump is just like a horrible version of that because he says the same shit over and over again. At least Don King had some personality and some like actual creativity in terms of how he like, you know, would communicate with the American public. Donald just does the same talking points that he's been using for 9 years now.
All the Amazon founder,
Megan
Jeff
says
Bezos,
Trump does do the WWE thing, like for sure.
Response to a report that Amazon was going to display tariff costs next to product prices. Are you going to punish CEOs who increase their prices because of tariffs?
I think what is a great misnomer is the word tariff in many cases. It's not, to me, I don't view it as a tax. I view it as an incentive for people to come into the United States and build plants, factories, offices, a lot of things. I think it's an incentive. But the thing that's not known is if you look back and see, oftentimes like China or Vietnam or other countries, not just China, because China's an abuser, but there are other abusers. Many of them are friends, the so-called, I say friend and foe, and friend is oftentimes worse than foe. But what people don't understand is, and this is a lot, the country eats the tariff, the company eats the tariff, and it's not passed along at all.
Well, some CEOs are saying they're going to have to pass it along. How do you deal with it?
Not true.
That's not even fucking
Go
true at
take economics 101, dude. Go
like,
take econ.
why?
101. He went to fucking Penn undergrad. This is an Ivy League graduate. You got to figure, you know, here's the choice, right? When you're looking at Trump and he says shit like that, is he real? Does he know better and he's evil, or is he really just that stupid and ignorant?
Yeah.
And he's still evil.
No, and you know what's fucking crazy about that too is like for the past 8, 9, 10 years, that debate is still going on. Is he just incredibly stupid, or is he just fucking that like evil and doesn't give a fuck? Maybe it's all the above.
I think he's remember there are 9 different forms of intelligence. Go back and check out my essay. I think it was my 3rd or 4th essay where I talk about Howard Gardner's 9 different kinds of intelligences. And I think Trump actually does have a pretty high interpersonal IQ, but that's all he has. Like, I don't think he had that, and plus his daddy's money added up to him becoming a famous corporate figure in the 80s and 90s. And then that led to The Apprentice. And then the rest is history.
Yeah,
deal with those CEOs?
I do. Just before we continue, I do kind of prescribe or ascribe, whatever the fuck, whatever.
I'll tell you when you're done talking. I'll tell you which one you should have said.
Like the chaos theory, and it definitely like how Trump. It's attributed to Trump and everything that he does, and my dad agrees as well. He's the one that brought it up here. Chaos is the point, basically.
Yes.
And, like I do think over anything, over everything, it does apply to him the most, and he doesn't actually care one way or another how anything lands, how like what the results are.
No, as long as his opponents are on their back heels. It's a competitive.
Yes,
it's a competitive disposition. He's trying to make sure that whoever opposes him is on their back heels the whole time. They're not on offense against him because he's got the power. And that's the biggest difference. This is the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats is Republicans, when they have the power, they fucking use it. And they make no apologies for the ridiculous policies that they pass when they have power.
Yeah.
Democrats, when they have power, all they do is make excuses for why they can't get something done.
Yep.
That's the biggest difference between the cultures of the party. Now, between the two of those, take away the policies, which one of those two institutions has a culture of winning, and which of those two institutions has a culture of losing? Like, it's not that, remember, like it is complicated. The world is a complicated place, but American politics, because it's a duopoly, is not complicated. All you got to do is your homework. All you got to do is go study 1980 to the present day, and then you got to go study FDR, and that's the basics. Like, and study Eisenhower while you're at it. I mean, back when Republicans had some decency about them.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, a big aspect about all of this is that Trump sets the narrative. He knows how crucial that is, because if everybody's working around his narratives,
he wants people reacting to him. He wants people to be reacting to him as opposed to him reacting to others. Yes.
He sets the discourse, he sets the dialogue. And as long as people keep on playing his game, everything's going to continue. Yes, everything's going to continue to like rally around him. Well, that's going to revolve around him.
That's what happened in the most recent election, where Kamala and Trump were fighting over the same voters.
Yeah,
and
like the border.
Instead of Kamala being like, no, actually, I'm not a xenophobic piece of shit like you. I want to actually evolve as a society. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward and in a different direction than we've seen for 60 years.
Yeah, I don't want to blame the fucking powerless for the problems that the powerful created. Like, come on.
What do you deal with those CEOs?
China is eating the tariffs right now.
What do you say to those CEOs who are saying we might have to pass this on to the consumer?
Well, they say that because maybe it's to their advantage to say it. Maybe
you punish them?
No, because you know what? I want them to build plants in the United States. That way they don't have any tariffs. See, tariffs will, and not only will, look at what's happened. In 2 months, we're close to $9 trillion of investment. We've never been anywhere near that.
What did you say to Jeff Bezos?
He's just a very nice guy. We have a relationship. I asked him about it. He said, well, I don't want to do that. And he took it off immediately.
So he changed course. And will you take that same tactic with other CEOs? If you
I'll always call people if I disagree with them. If I think that somebody's doing something that's incorrect, wrong, or maybe hurtful to the country, I'll call. Absolutely. Wouldn't you want me to call? Biden wouldn't call because he didn't know what was happening, but I do.
Takes me to my next question. Today's strong jobs report likely means, not clear, but likely means the Fed is less likely to lower interest rates.
Well, he should lower them. And at some point he will. He'd rather not because he's not a fan of mine. Not, just doesn't like me because I think he's a total stiff. And, it's just one of those things. He should lower them. And I wish the people that are on that board would get him to lower, because we are at a perfect time. It's already late, but he should lower interest rates.
Do you rule out removing Fed Chair Jerome Powell?
I'm not, I get to change him very quickly anyway. It's in a very short period of time.
In 2026. You're not going to remove, you don't have plans to remove him before 2026 when his time's up?
That was a total, why would I do that? I get to replace the person in another short period of time.
Okay.
That's something I was meaning to actually look into.
Who he appoints for Fed Chair is so important. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's gonna get rid, but they're gonna have the Republican Congress. Like they're gonna get what they want. The establishment GOP is gonna get the Federal Reserve chair that they want.
Yeah, the only love you, Dad. I appreciate you tuning in. It really means a lot. The thing about, the one thing I will give the Republican Party is the fiscal hawks within the party. They will have a major say when it comes to, especially when it comes to nominating the Fed chair. They're already very, 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 for the lack of a better word, hostile towards the aspect of the tariffs that the Trump administration have implemented, and how the market is reacting generally, and not to mention the fact that they care about the deficit, they care about the debt and whatnot. And if Trump wants to put in just some fucking Fed chair, potentially some Fed chair that's just going to do whatever the fuck that the Trump administration wants, that's going to be fucking horrible for the economy. And because Jerome Powell, like him or not, is more of like a mediator when it comes to everything right now. So the fiscal hawks are definitely going to want him to stay in place for as long as possible. Not to mention, it's not even up to Trump that whether or not he gets fired at the moment. So, after his tenure is up, is really when the debate begins.
You reshuffled your national security team, moved National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to UN ambassador. Just to remind our viewers, Waltz, of course, started that unsecure text chain where sensitive information was shared. Mr. President, was that move a punishment?
No, I just think he'll do a nice job in the new position. Marco's doing an outstanding job. No, Marco's very busy doing other things, so he's not going to keep it long term. We're going to put somebody else in. But I think Mike, as you know, he's a fine guy, and I think he'll do a very good job. Knows the countries, knows leadership, and I think he'll do a very good job at the United Nations. And in the meantime, Marco's really doing something special, and it's going to work out very well.
We're hearing some potential names. Stephen Miller's name, one of your longtime most loyal aides, His name has been talked about as a potential national security advisor. Is he someone you're looking
Well,
at?
I'd love to have Stephen there, but that would be a downgrade. Stephen is much higher in the totem pole than that, in my opinion.
Can you tell us who the frontrunner is right
very
now?
I have a lot of people that want it. I
hear.
can tell you, I have everybody calling. Everybody wants to be a part of this administration. So at some point, we'll, probably do that.
Stephen Miller's the
there's a
fucking
theory.
worst.
Henry Kissinger did both.
Oh, he's
There's
evil.
a theory that you don't need two
Mhm.
people, but I think I have some really great people that could do a good job.
So Secretary Rubio could continue to have both jobs
He
indefinitely?
could, yeah, he could. But I think he even would like to probably see, because it is a little bit different. But in the meantime, he'll handle it. And I think Mike, if that goes forward, he still has to get
Thanks,
approved.
dude.
But I think Mike will do a very good job at the United Nations.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, obviously also on that unsecure text chain. He was sharing sensitive information. Are you looking for a new Secretary of Defense? Mr.
No,
President?
not even a little bit. No, Pete's going to be great.
His job is safe
We're
right now?
doing a fantastic job against the Houthis, who like blowing ships up and watching them sink in the ocean. We're hitting them.
Yeah, the
No, he's doing really
Houthis,
good.
of
His job is
which
safe right
we're backing down against currently, by the way. We'll get a bit more into that
Totally safe.
later.
Let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations.
Yeah, we haven't
Border
talked enough about
crossings
the
are at
border.
their lowest level ever recorded. Is the
Is
border
that good?
is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's
Isn't that
absolutely
good that when
secure.
you say that, doesn't that just sound good? After being abused for years by an incompetent president that allowed people to pour through an open border, criminals from all over the world, murderers and insane people from mental institutions and insane asylums. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you say it's the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country? Isn't that a nice statement?
Well, I'm curious to know what it means. You declared a national emergency on the southern border. The
Yeah.
order is still in place,
By the way,
even
it
though
means
you're saying
exactly
the
what
border's
you
secure.
said. It
Yeah.
means we have the most secure border we've ever had.
Well, and I guess the question
complicated.
becomes, when will you know that the emergency is over? Are you planning to lift it at some point? Is it necessary? Because
Hmm.
obviously the military is involved. Will you lift that emergency?
Well, the biggest
Good
emergency
question.
is the courts aren't allowing us to take really
We're going
bad
to talk
people
about
out.
that, but talk to me
Well,
first
that's
about
to me
this.
the emergency.
Talk to me
because
first about this.
The border now is
emergency.
not the emergency. The border is it's all part of the same thing, though. The big emergency right now is that we have thousands of people that we want to take out, and we have some judges that want everybody to go to
Some of
court.
them you appointed, sir,
That's
including
all right.
three
I
on the
mean,
Supreme
They
Court.
change. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how
Yeah.
that happens, but they do change.
Just to button this up, though, are you planning to
Yeah,
lift that
oh
emergency
my
order
God,
anytime
dude.
soon?
No,
Now that the border's
no,
secure?
we have an
You say the
emergency. We have a
border's
massive emergency. Overall, it's an overall emergency on immigration. And if the
When's
courts
the
don't allow
emergency
us to
over,
take people
Donald?
out, if we had to have a court case, think of it, every single person, we have millions of people. We have millions of court cases. Figure 2 weeks a court case, it would be 300 years.
So let's talk about this, because
Add more
obviously we had a back
immigration
and forth with the
judges,
Supreme
you
Court.
fuck.
In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return. You've talked about this in the past of Gilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers
sycophant.
to do that. And that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one
She's
before. Now we
stupid
have a
as
great
fuck,
one.
too. Pam
And
Bondi.
they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the
Fox
power to
News
bring him back,
loves her.
though. Your attorney general
Mhm.
says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just
Fox
to
News
put a
is
fine
full
point on
of
this,
dumb fucks.
do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the
ordered?
power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the Attorney General that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, and your attorney general has said the issues with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme
We
Court?
may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that. There are some people that say, bring him back, put him in trial, and you get him out right away because you see
Yeah,
what happened just this morning. Tapes came out,
I don't
horrible
even
tapes from
use
his wife.
this interview, but there was one that he did a little bit more recently where he tried to claim that, like, oh yeah, like Gilmar Abrego Garcia, he was MS-13. It was tattooed on his knuckles. It's like, no, that was photoshopped. It's like, well, no. It's like the MS-13. You see it on his knuckles. It's just like, no,
No.
no, you fucking idiot, you fucking dumb motherfucker.
You don't get much worse than that. You don't get, I mean, he seems certainly like a very dangerous, very bad person, but even the wife who was so afraid, she was afraid to talk. And all of a sudden tapes got released this morning that were devastating to him.
And this is the point, sir, about due process. The Constitution says every person
Yeah, they're
citizen,
still trying to
non-citizen,
claim that
deserves
that
due
guy
Here we
was
go. This is a
fucking
big. This is a
Why
big.
push to have
Yeah.
him come back, present all of that evidence in court, let a judge decide.
Well, I'll leave
Yes.
that to the lawyers and I'll leave that to the Attorney General of the United States.
But do you
because they're
agree?
in it. You have
But
to
how is
understand,
that going to fucking
dealing with
happen
Russia.
if he's not here in the United States to fucking have a trial to begin with?
He's
Talk
just
to your
surviving this
talk
moment.
to your
He's just trying-
fucking talk to the fucking leader of your client state down there in El Salvador to get the fucker back.
and Ukraine. I'm dealing
And we're
with
gonna talk about that.
I'm dealing with Iran. I'm dealing with Rwanda and the Congo who are fighting, and we're trying to get that one straightened out. And I think we have done that. Did a great job. Nobody even talks about it, but I think we're close to doing that. They're looking like they're going to maybe make a peace deal, which would be good. But I'm dealing with a lot of different things. I don't know much about this gentleman other than I hear he's an absolute not good person. And I have very capable legal people, John Sauer, as you know, and all top people. And I have to rely on that to interpret whatever's said by the Supreme Court. Now, with that being said, I have tremendous respect for the Supreme Court. Look, 3 of the people are people I appointed, and I have great respect for the Supreme Court. And I would expect that the Attorney General will be doing the right thing.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr. President?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment.
I don't know. It seems.
That's all you need to know right there. That's all you need to fucking know. If he doesn't know,
we probably should have just cut to that part and like made that the whole show, because that's it right there. He has no concept of our structure of government, of our culture of politics, of the difference between politics and public service. He does not understand. If you asked him to define public service, he would give you some bullshit answer that would amount to nothing.
Gobbledygook. Yeah, no, he doesn't have a fucking clue. He doesn't care either. He doesn't fucking care to know.
I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment.
I don't know. It seems it might say that, but if you're talking about that, then
it
we'd
might
have to have
say
1 million
that.
or 2 million or 3
Not
million.
like I fucking read it or anything.
It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials. We have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth. Some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
That just sent me. That just gave me fucking whiplash. Maybe it says it, maybe it doesn't. I mean, we might have to have like 2 or 3 million different cases just to figure it all out. It's just like, motherfucker, maybe it actually says that persons, not citizens, are guaranteed due process in America. There's a reason why that specific language is there, because, and it's actually reiterated a few different fucking times in the Constitution, in the amendments, because fucking, just in case you weren't fucking aware, Donnie boy, if persons in America don't have the guarantee of due process, then neither do the fucking citizens. All right.
Feeling it.
But even given those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they are going to obviously follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the United States?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
How do you not fucking know?
At least 2 Americans have been mistakenly detained and released by your administration immigration authorities. Mr. President, should lawful residents of this country start carrying paperwork with them when they leave their homes?
I don't think that'll be necessary, but what you're not saying is that many people have been killed, maimed, badly hurt by illegal.
Many people have been kidnapped by people who don't have any IDs, who don't have any fucking warrants, by people who claim to be ICE but are not in uniform. Fucking plainclothes individuals just fucking snatch the fuck up. Even people who aren't actually in ICE trying to claim that they are part of the fucking American Gestapo. Like, that kind of fucking scam is going around right now. Like, people that are actually fucking racists just trying to kidnap people because they think they can fucking get away with it, with how fucking bad it is right now under you right now. Fuck.
Well, and if we don't get them out, we're not going to have a country for long. We need honest. We need honest media, and we need walls. We need to have borders. And by the way, I built a lot of walls, and if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be able to have those. You know, we would not be able to have the kind of numbers if I wasn't successful in building hundreds of miles of wall.
Very quickly, sir, the last time you and I spoke in December, you said that you would consider working on getting Dreamers legal status. Dreamers, of course, those who were brought here illegally as children. Where do those efforts stand? Is that a priority for you?
Well, it's not a priority for the Democrats, because every time we talk about it, they don't want to talk about it because I guess they like it as a political issue, but they're not good at political issues because they still want to have men playing women's sports.
Well, Republicans do control Congress right now, Mr. President. Are you going to make Dreamers a priority?
Well, you'd need for that, you would need to have support from Democrats, and we have no support from the Democrats.
Have you had any discussions about Dreamers?
Yeah, we've had discussions. We would do something. I'd love to put in beautiful immigration for everybody, but the Democrats don't want to approve anything. All they want to do is knock out a tax bill. We're trying to get approved right now, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And if it doesn't get approved, it's a 68% tax increase. And that's what the Democrats want. They want a 68% tax increase. It's rather incredible.
And I do want to talk about your administration. Let's talk about
What does that even mean? 68% on capital gains, like income, like what kind of taxes are we talking about, dude? There's no fucking details. There are never any details.
No.
And the left is guilty of this too, in terms of the left being defined as the institutional left. Even AOC, dude. Like even AOC and Bernie, like sometimes I'm like, show me, like blow me away with your knowledge of the numbers. Blow me away with your comprehension of these problems. Demonstrate that you understand these problems better than the average American, because that's your fucking job.
Yeah. Not to mention, it's just like, fucking sit down with someone like this. Just like have an hour interview and just go into detail about your fucking ideas and your policy proposals and shit. It's like, yeah, the Democrats are definitely guilty of leaving out policy details and shit. It's just like, motherfucker, it can go such a long way if people actually understood exactly where you're coming from. But like people like fucking Trump are just like play into like just this game of vagueness every fucking time they get on camera.
Hired thousands of federal workers, including FAA employees in charge of aviation safety, specialists working on nuclear weapon safety. What do you say to those who believe Elon Musk's chainsaw approach has jeopardized the safety and security of America?
Well, he found $160 billion worth of fraud, waste, and abuse. I mean, I think she's done an amazing job. I think his people have done an incredible job. They're brilliant people. They know the computer. I actually asked them, what's their big trait? He said they're unbelievable at computers. In other words, you can't fake them out because these people were, in many cases, crooks. But it was fraud, waste, and abuse. They found, your question should be asked a different way. Were certain things found? Yes. How much? $160 billion.
Think of what $160 billion is.
He found $160
He said he'd find $2 trillion.
Well, we're not finished yet. We're not finished.
Do you think the work continues even though he's leaving?
He said he's leaving behind some very brilliant people. They were on television last night. They're super high IQ people. I like high IQ people. The Democrats don't have many of them.
Let me ask.
Motherfucker, dude. Like, please, like, just take a basic test. Take live stream like a fucking basic test. Like fucking apply for Mensa, dude. Fucking like get out there, show just how cognitively fucking aware of the shit that you spew, like of anything. For crying out fucking loud, do something to show just how brilliant and high IQ you are. Not to mention the fucking dumb knuckle dragging motherfuckers that you have in your goddamn cabinet. God damn it, dude.
Let me ask you about some news that broke. You are threatening to rescind Harvard's tax-exempt status.
Yeah.
And yet directing the IRS to investigate and rescind a university's tax-exempt status is contrary to what's in the federal law. The law says you can't do this. Do you think you're following the law?
Well, I tell you, I'm going to just follow what the lawyers say. They say that we're allowed to do that, and I'm all for it. But everything I say is subject to the laws being 100% adhered to.
Are you willing to take this to court if it becomes a court fight? You're going to take it that far?
In a lot of cases.
Subscribe.
All right, let's talk about some of the other actions you've taken over the past 100 days. Last month, you directed your Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to review 2 people who you perceive to be your political adversaries. And yet you told me in December that you would not direct the Justice Department to investigate your political foes. What changed?
Well, no, I just look at people, and I'm not directing anybody. They looked at these 2 people. They might have known it, or they might have heard it from 2 years ago. One person said, he knew me so well. He was, I think, on CNN or MSDNC, but they're both failing networks. You're happy to know, even though one of them, I guess, is related to you in one form or another, although they're trying to cut him loose as fast as possible. But
so that's the most intelligent thing he said the entire interview.
No. Yeah. Like, and like
MSNBC is a fucking disgrace.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody who's working for MSNBC that might be watching this, all right, you want to fix MSNBC? Shoot me an email and I'll tell you how to fix MSNBC because it's not complicated.
No, yeah.
Get the fucking neoliberal Clinton, Obama, Biden people out of the fucking way.
Yeah.
Bring in some goddamn progressive voices. I bet most people in your network, and definitely most who watch your network, don't even know the difference between neoliberal and progressive. It just never ends with that network. And I'm thinking about doing the Morning Bro thing again, where I watch Morning Joe and then just to like create more content and feed the algorithm stuff. But it's like there was the head of it, and maybe we'll watch it. The head of the DNC was on there today. It's like they're good for like 1 or 2 good interviews. They get this guy Ratner in there who's really good on economics. And, just like every day I'm thinking about just like for 30, 40 minutes going live and responding to like the one good or one really bad piece of Morning Joe that happened that day. Because that is what a lot of people watch. Biden loved Morning Joe, dude. He watched Morning Joe all the time.
No, of course. Yeah, dude, I'm unemployed right now. Like, fucking hit me up. I'll fucking help you out. I'll join.
Yeah, let's go, dude. Let's go. You want to do it? Do a morning bro stream tomorrow?
I'm fucking
let's do it. Let's do a morning bro stream tomorrow.
What time are you thinking?
Like 11. I gotta watch it first. I gotta watch the whole thing.
Yeah,
which actually doesn't take that long because there's so many commercials and they repeat content. But then, we'll work out the timing later. But maybe like 11 a.m. or noon, something like that.
I don't think I got any like interviews lined up, or anything like that. So, fucking let's fucking tackle the current fucking MSNBC shit right now. Because like, here's the thing, like fucking Trump's not wrong. He knows how to fucking rub it in. It's like fucking. It doesn't matter how much of like the MSNBC programming and CNN programming right now. Excuse me, is in the right, like he's still fucking right. That's the thing. Go ahead.
It was well known that this one person, it was almost like he was my brother. I don't even know who he is. Maybe he was there. Maybe he was in the Oval Office a few times as a surrogate for
Megan. Where you at?
In some form of government, along with 25 other people that sat in the back of the room or stood in the back of the room. I have no idea who this guy is, and he's out there. And then he did a book called Anonymous. I think that's really subversion. I think it's spying. It's something really bad.
What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you saying?
And the other one said that the election was so wonderful. It was it turned out it wasn't a wonderful election. It was a corrupt election.
Let me ask it this way, sir, because when we talked in December, I asked you, what is your message to people who didn't vote for you? Let me remind you of what you said. You said, I love you, and we're going to all work together. How does pursuing your political foes help to unify?
Did I really say I love you?
You really did. That's a direct quote.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, but I'd like to see.
I promise I'll show it to you. I'll show you the tape.
Look.
How does that help to unify
I want to
the
treat people fairly, whether they voted for me or not. I want to have a unified country. It's very hard because the media is so fake, including like even the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler's, whatever. But you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes.
Oh, wow.
Possible.
Yeah.
That's drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
I'm trying to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, anyway, drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
I'm trying to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, every question you ask says a very negative
thing.
I'm fine for responding to you. I don't think you're very difficult at all to respond to be honest with you. But you know what? You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business.
To this question,
gas has been like the same price for the past fucking like
going after
3 or 4 months.
Undercut that goal.
No, not at all. No, we want honest people.
Okay.
I think you have to do that. We want honest people in this country.
Let me ask you big picture. People who have lived in countries like the Philippines, Hungary, Russia, they look at some of your actions going after civil service, going after universities, law firms, the media. They say it's out of an authoritarian playbook. What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states.
All about winning.
A lot of people.
Because I'm a winner, dude. Because I'm a winner. It's like, dude, look at the participation numbers, man. The turnout wasn't great. Like, and not even that's not even what matters. What matters is anyway. I'm getting tired here. I'm looking forward to this being over.
4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won actually. I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. Let me just say. So when you make these statements about people say this, well, they had their chance at the election and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you say? I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days.
He loves that. That's his favorite thing to do. A lot of people are saying this. A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing that everybody knows it. Like he loves that shit.
I hope that they're going to be right.
Do you see dissent as an essential part of democracy?
It's a part of democracy.
Is it an important part of democracy?
I hope that they're going to be right.
Listen to this.
Do you see dissent as an essential part of democracy?
It's a part of democracy. It is.
Is it an important part of democracy?
You're always going to have dissent. You're always going to have dissent. There's nothing you're going to do about that. Am I going to get 100% unified? It would be a strange place. I can't even imagine it where 100%. Look, you have people that are good people. They're very smart people, and they honestly believe we should have open borders and the entire world should be allowed to pour into our country. I think it's a 95-5 issue, but they believe it. They're not even bad people. Some of them are bad. You have people that honestly believe that men should be allowed to.
We have spent 40% of this interview talking about the fucking border.
Play in sports. Some of these people. I don't know any. I haven't been able to find any, but they exist. They say it's an 80-20 issue. I don't believe that. I think it's a 97-3 issue.
Do you think people should have the right to criticize you without fear of reprisal?
Absolutely, yeah, I do. That I do.
And how do you square
that? I think that happens. 97-3 issue.
Do you think people should have the right to criticize you without fear of reprisal?
Absolutely, yeah, I do. That I do.
And how do you square that?
I think that happens.
How do you square that with the fact that you have passed these executive orders asking the Attorney General to look into some of the people who've criticized you, who've been harshest against you?
I have been investigated more than any person in the history of the United States of America. I've been investigated more than the late great, as I say at my rallies, Alphonse Capone.
So, like, if people are allowed to criticize you, They should be allowed to fucking investigate you for like the criticisms that they have. It could be legal. It could be on a legal fucking basis, dude. So it's like if you don't want to be fucking investigated, then you should fucking allow it as the commander in chief, as the executive. You fuck.
Yeah, and treat top secret documents with respect.
Yeah,
at the
very like that's a whole other thing too. Like, holy fuck, dude.
Oh, there was 20 of those things, man. There was like he had 91 criminal indictments or something like that. It all went away because he won the presidency.
Yeah, not to mention all the fucking top secret indictment documents and whatnot. The TSSCI shit, like that was all in fucking like Mar-a-Lago.
He calls he's about to call Al Capone the late great Al Capone, right? Check it out.
Investigated more than any person in the history of the United States of America.
But this whole tactic is nothing more than playing the victim. I mean, it's not. It's the bully playing the. 100%. It's the bully playing the victim. Oh, he hurt me. Yeah. I didn't mean to hit him.
I've been investigated more than the late great, as I say at my rallies, Alphonse Capone. Alphonse Capone was a nasty man. He was the highest level gangster. And I have been investigated more than Al Capone, more than anybody.
It's so funny.
These people
it's
are
so fucking funny.
And I won.
Because it's like the only reason that Al Capone went down is because tax evasion. They got him on fucking taxes. I went to the mob museum when I visited Las Vegas, and that was like that was cool. It was actually it was a real fucking cool place.
Yeah, I bet it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it really like kind of like it kind of warped my brain. It's just like, damn, all this shit was happening for years and years and years, but the only reason why it stopped is due to extrajudicial spying and interference from the fucking United States government. That is the only reason why the mafia, the mob, was even curtailed, and all fucking everybody that who's affiliated with all this fucking organized crime went down. And they there's a whole fucking wall of different names, what they were arrested for, what happened to them, why they were arrested, all this shit. It was a very, very enlightening experience. A little sad in a way because it's like, yeah, I mean, these fucking a lot of them wanted to like were part of like the nightlife, and this was back in the time when what the fuck was it, when alcohol prohibition prohibition was a big thing. It's just like people like to fucking drink, so it's like if you outlaw alcohol, like you're basically giving the market away to fucking
gangsters.
You
gotta go. Yeah, just go watch the first season of Boardwalk Empire, and you'll understand everything you need to know about why prohibition was such a horrible idea. Actually, and if you actually think about prohibition too, it's a foundation for legalizing weed and legalizing other drugs, and not doing a war on drugs, because all you're doing is empowering criminals.
Bingo.
And I'll tell you what, all I want to happen is for the Department of
and this is why I hold the stance, and this definitely does have to do with prohibition and the mob in general. It's just like you want to lessen the power that these people have, even if they do have any power to this day. The majority of it is relegated to the cartels in Mexico,
right?
Because they are a middleman to when it comes to bringing whatever drugs up,
like cocaine,
fentanyl, whatever, because they get a lot of their shit, especially cocaine, from fucking South America.
Colombia, Bolivia.
If you want to limit the power that these fucking cartels have, don't fucking drone strike them. Don't fucking assert your dominance over the sovereignty of Mexico. Actually change fucking policies and laws here in the United States, so that way that their power is fucking diminished substantially. Take a lesson from the wielding of government power against the mob. You know, instead of fucking just shedding more blood and fucking drone striking different regions and shit. Like, it's just like there are better ways to fucking go about this shit. Legalize and regulate drugs.
More than anybody. These people are evil people, and I won. And I'll tell you what, all I want to happen is for the Department of Justice and the FBI. Pam is great and Cash is great. I think they're two great people, but they're their own people. They want to do a fantastic job. And all I want to do and all I want to ask for is that they be allowed to do their job. I'm not telling them to do anything. And I believe I have the right to do it. I'm, in theory, the top law enforcement officer as the president. We went over this once before and it turned out I was right. But I'm not looking to use that. We have two great people and we have many, many incredible people under them. And I just want them to do their job and do it well.
Let me ask you about something I don't think you've been asked much about, which is you've branded your own cryptocurrency. The coin's value actually surged recently after you announced that top holders would be invited to have dinner.
I don't even know. What did it surge to?
What did it surge to?
Yeah, what's it worth? You might as well tell me because I have no idea.
Well, it surged.
How do you not know?
I will find it. Hold on 1 second. 5.2 or 58%. So 58%.
To what number?
That's not bad. 14.32.
What? Billion?
Dollars per cryptocurrency.
$1 billion?
No.
What's the number? I mean, what is the amount?
The meme coin's value hit a peak of 75.35 on January 19th.
That doesn't mean anything.
And that's before your inauguration, and then it surged.
Look, I'm in favor of crypto.
Okay, but let me just ask you, what do you say to those who argue that when they hear that they worry you're profiting from the
I'm
president?
not profiting from anything. All I'm doing is, I started this long.
Let me just ask you, what do you say to those who argue that when they hear that they worry you're profiting from the
I'm
presidency?
not profiting from anything. All I'm doing is, I started this long before the election. I want crypto. I think crypto is important because if we don't do it,
This is like the most like
it's new,
corrupt thing to ever plague a
Crypto
presidential
was such a fucking scam from the very beginning. The only thing that made sense about crypto, it all started with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin made sense because I knew, and because of, my experience with gambling, that there was a demand for an untraceable currency. I knew that there was a demand for untraceable currency. So Bitcoin made sense to me because there were a lot of gamblers back in the 2010s that wanted to gamble without having to go to Vegas. And the easiest way and they could just do it on their credit card. And, that was really where it all started. And then it became an investment proposition. And I'm like, what are you investing in? Like, show me the report. Are there companies like, show me the reports. Show me the EBITDA. You know what EBITDA is? Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Like, where's the performance metrics that you're using to evaluate the quality of this investment? And there is none because there's no assets. There's no productivity. There's nothing of value other than the speculated value of the crypto coin. And there's nothing there. I don't feel sorry for anybody that owns crypto and is going to get fucked over. Why didn't you just invest in fucking stocks? Why did you invest in crypto and not invest in stocks? Like, why did you choose crypto? Because it was like different, because it was quicker. No, the reason why is because they're greedy as fuck and they thought it was a quicker way to get rich. That's why.
No, I mean, it's actually kind of crazy how much this ties into my dad, because one, he used to have a major gambling issue. Two, he's actually majorly invested in crypto right now, and has actually been making really good on dividends.
Tell him to cash out. Cash out.
Sure. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, dude, send some fucking dividends my way. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, no shit. Tell him the gift tax at 18 grand, just so he knows.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention, it's just like when it comes to I mean, gambling in general, like we can go through like all sorts of different tangents and shit. It's like Nevada, like they even taught this at the Mob Museum, how Nevada was really like a safe haven when it came to like casinos and gambling in general and whatnot.
They made that their economy. They made
that
their
exactly.
economy. You're right.
Exactly.
Like, we ran out of silver. Silver's really not that valuable. So what the hell are we going to do with this state? It's like, I know, we'll make it. I mean, I'm surprised no one else followed suit. I'm surprised, like,
no
why
kidding.
Didn't, what happened? Politically, well, I guess it wasn't viable, but why didn't Texas, like turning Galveston into, like, the next New Orleans? Like, what happened? Of course.
Yeah. And like, while I was in Vegas, actually, I mean, there's a bunch of firsts for me. Like, I went there, like, to see a few of my favorite bands, Pussifer, A Perfect Circle, and Primus. And it was at Planet Hollywood, which is right next to the Cosmopolitan, to the Paris place, whatever the fuck. And I actually made my first time ever. First, I won big. I won like fucking like 220. Well, I did slots. I won like 220 off of that. Won a bunch more off of that as well.
Nice.
Won $75 off of blackjack, just one hand. It was crazy. I got like a blackjack my first hand.
Nice.
Yeah, but I lost a whole lot of it. But I ended up doing my first ever sports bet.
What'd you bet on?
I
Hockey?
bet on. Oh, I wish that would have been so great. I would have bought. I
Hockey.
would
There's
have.
some money to be made in
Oh
hockey. If you know,
fuck yeah,
if you know
yeah.
hockey, there's a lot of money to be made. But
Yeah,
I don't know shit about hockey.
if I had bet, well, this was like the night of the 26th. If I had bet on the Ottawa Senators, I would have made some big fucking money. Even though I think the Maple Leafs are going to go on to make it big in the finals and whatnot. But I bet on the Nuggets beating the Clippers, even though they were the underdogs, and
Oh, cool.
I swear to God, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude, basketball. I know a lot. I know some guys who do really well with basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Nuggets actually won by like the last microsecond. Like
Oh shit.
it was tied
Nice.
up.
That must have been
And
thrilling.
oh yeah, you should have seen it. The Nuggets beat the Clippers. There was it was a field. It was either a field goal or a 3-pointer. I think it was a field goal. And you can see like the ball is like almost like barely through the entire hoop, like almost like barely through the entire hoop. The minute the buzzer comes on,
Wow.
like the end of the game, like 101 to 99, and I like I
Perfect.
lost my shit.
Yeah, that's
But
perfect, dude. Oh, way
yeah,
to go. Just in
no, yeah.
time. Right on time for you.
Of course, of course. And the thing is, I was gonna because I haven't bet anything since then, and I saw that the Giants were playing the Cubs in MLB, and I was gonna bet some money on them. And I saw that like the Warriors were going to play. I was gonna bet some money on them. They
Right.
both ended up winning their games, but I learned through my app that I set up when I was in Vegas that you couldn't even like California doesn't allow sports betting.
Right. You can't use your
No,
Vegas app when you're not in
no,
Nevada. Right.
exactly.
Right.
So it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I have to like be in Las Vegas for this fucking for these bets to even matter. It's just like shit. I could have made some good fucking money.
Yeah, just be glad I mean, it's a good thing that there's not a sports book down the street. And by the way, other states have casinos. Like we're clear with the audience. We know that other states have casinos. It's just that
Yes,
Nevada
yeah.
is the only one that sanctions sports betting.
No, yes, yeah, they're one like the primary ones. Yeah. Megan says, "Sorry, was researching something unrelated. What's going on? Where have you been? How long have you been gone?" Go ahead.
All right, let's wrap. We got to get through this, and I got to go,
yeah.
And then I got to get back to my life. So let's get
Of course. Why not?
get done with Trump.
Yes.
For the election, I want crypto. I think crypto is important because if we don't do it, China's going to. And it's new. It's very popular. It's very hot. If you look at the market, when the market went down, that stayed much stronger than other aspects of the market. But I want crypto because a lot of people, millions of people want it. I don't know if you know that Biden went after it violently. And then before the election, he changed his tune entirely. His head of the SEC, everybody changed their tune. You know why? Because there were hundreds of millions of people that are participating in crypto and they wanted to get their votes.
So you're not profiting off of cryptocurrency?
I haven't even looked. I'll tell you what, look, if I own stock in something,
he's not answering the question.
The stock market goes up.
No.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm profiting.
I mean, it's a pay to play thing. It's a pay to play thing. It's like why engage in corruption the traditional way that Washington has engaged in corruption for the past several decades, when you can just fucking funnel money through the Trump administration or to Trump directly through fucking cryptocurrency.
If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for 175.
Oh yeah, and you don't, and you fucking don't, and the fucking cronies around you don't engage in insider information. You fucking dishonest little fucking weasel. Jesus fuck.
When you get cut off in traffic, here's a free piece of advice from someone who's got a few years on you. When you get cut off in traffic, the best reaction to that or any misfortune is really, it's not going to be the last time, right?
Yeah.
Because that way you recognize it's part of a pattern. Like, this is who he is, dude. Don't let him get you fired up because he's just going to keep being him. Like, this is who he is.
Of course.
So, but yeah, I mean, the world's going to be a better place when he's dead, but I mean, he's getting up there in age, but we're never going to be rid of him until then. I mean, he's even if he doesn't, the title of this thing, it says he'll be a 2-term president, downplays 3rd-term talk. Like, even once he's out of office, he's not going to shut up. He's not going to do what Obama did. And,
no kidding.
Kinda, like disappear.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not even convinced to begin with that he's going to go quietly if he were to lose, or his
you mean like advanced losers or something like that?
Yeah, like if because obviously he can't.
I wouldn't put it past him to try to make some sort of a switcheroo at the last minute or something.
Yeah, or at the very least, like his preferred candidate, because I don't think he's too hot on JD Vance. He's kind of made that clear.
Well, we'll find out. A lot's gonna change in the next 2 years.
Of course. So we'll see.
She's worth,
hold on, let's get
$50, $200 million.
Sure.
Okay, you got to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you got to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look. In fact, I do something that no other president has done. They think maybe George Washington has done. I contribute my entire salary to the government, back to the government.
So will you contribute anything you earn from crypto back to the government? If that happens?
I never thought of that. I mean, should I contribute all of my real estate that I've owned for many years if it goes up a little bit because I'm president and doing a good job? I don't think so.
Okay.
But I've done something that surprisingly,
conflict of interest,
I know the president's done. And it's a substantial salary. It's like $500,000 a year or $550,000 a year, 4 years, a couple of $1 million. I gave it to the government last time. I never got a story saying I gave it. Nobody cared if I gave it.
Nobody cares.
A big story, but no other president, they say, with the possible exception of George Washington, that they haven't been able to find those records. And we've had wealthy presidents before, but no other president has contributed to salary. And they told me before this that you will probably be asking me whether or not I'm going to contribute my salary again, but you haven't asked that.
Are you going to?
Yes.
You are? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I appreciate we just made news there. Let's talk about foreign policy.
Nothing.
You just signed a deal with Ukraine.
What happened to Kristen
well, I appreciate
Welker?
we just made news there. Let's talk about foreign policy.
She's like, oh, yeah, we're getting along so well.
You just signed a minerals deal with Ukraine. It's a sign, it seems, that the United States is invested in Ukraine's future. The Secretary of State told me this is a very critical week. Are you any closer to reaching a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia?
I hope so. I do believe we're closer with one party and maybe not as close with the other, but we'll have to say, I'd like to not say which one we're closer to, but we did do a deal for the American people that was good. We were able to get rare earth. The Europeans are getting paid back. They have a loan. Biden just gave him $350 billion. He has no idea where the money is, what happened. And at least we'll, in one form or another, I don't feel so foolish. And remember this is Biden's war. This was a war that was never going to happen if I were president. This is a horrible, horrible war. And I get to see shots of soldiers through, satellite that are just so terrible. 5,000 soldiers a week. Look, 5,000 soldiers a week on average are dying. They're not American soldiers, but I want to solve the problem. They're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers. And if I can save 5,000 souls, I just love doing it.
How long do you give both countries before you're going to walk away?
Well, there'll be a time when I will say, okay, keep going, keep being stupid.
When does that come? Are you close to it?
Sometimes I get close to it and then positive things happen. Okay. So I hope it gets done.
Your close ally, Senator Lindsey Graham, has a sanctions bill against Russia. If you get to that point, Mr. President, where you're prepared to walk away, will you sign that sanctions bill?
Well, it depends on whether or not Russia is behaving toward coming to a peace. We want a peace deal. We want Russia and Ukraine to agree to a deal. We think we're fairly close, and we're going to save a lot of people from being killed. We save a lot of money, too, because we're spending money like, Europe is spending a third of the money that we're spending. And it's more important for Europe than it is for us. Biden had no control. He just sent money over there willy-nilly. Nobody had any idea what was happening, why they were doing it, why they were sending it. And it was massive amounts of money.
So you think you're close to a deal? What will Russia have to give up? Because Ukraine, there's been discussions they will have to give up some of the land.
Russia will have to give up all of Ukraine. Because that's what they want.
All of Ukraine, meaning they wouldn't keep any of the land that they've claimed?
Russia would have to give up all of Ukraine because what Russia wants is all of Ukraine. And if I didn't get involved, they would be fighting right now for all of Ukraine. Russia doesn't want the strip that they have now. Russia wants all of Ukraine. And if it weren't me, they would keep going. You know that the European Union leaders have asked me to call Putin so many times because he doesn't return their phone call?
You posted on social media he might be tapping you along.
Might be.
Did you misread
But you might
him?
be tapping me along too when you tell me how nice an interview this is going to be. So, I'm used to being tapped along.
Did you in any way misread Vladimir Putin?
Did what?
Misread him, now that you're saying that.
I'll tell you about that in a month from now or 2 weeks from now. I have no idea. I can tell you this. His ambition was stopped to a large extent when he saw that it was me that was now leading the charge. Because he wasn't dealing with anybody in Europe. He wasn't going back. You know that
I will say this. When it comes to the issue of Ukraine and Russia, fortunately, it does seem like Trump is starting to finally wake up like, oh, I'm being played by Russia. It's just like, dude, motherfucker. It's been the case the entire goddamn time. Mm-hmm. So we're at a point now to where it might be the point where in the most Trumpian fashion imaginable, like he's not going to completely favor Ukraine, but he's not going to completely there goes my voice. Excuse me.
Yeah, dude, why don't you take a breather?
He's not going to completely favor Ukraine, but he's not going to completely favor Russia either.
Right.
Yeah.
You know that I asked him, I said, did Biden never call you in 3 years? Did Biden never call? He said he never called. Biden didn't call him one time. And all these thousands of soldiers, hundreds, millions of soldiers are dying. And people, not only soldiers, people dying in the cities and the towns, and the whole heritage of that country is being blown apart. I mean, the country's heritage is being blown apart. You know the steeples, those beautiful spires that you see, the most beautiful in the world? Almost 95% of them are laying in smithereens, all broken up and so sad, laying all over the ground because they were shot. It's really a bad situation. And he didn't get one phone call from Biden. The war would have never started. And by the way, for 4 years, it didn't start. I was there for 4 years. It was the apple of his eye. This was the apple of Putin's eye. There was no chance he would have gone in.
What's the red line for you? At what point do you say that's it? We're walking away.
Well, you'll know. I mean, there'll be a time when I may say that. And if I do, there may be something I can't do. Maybe it's not possible to do. There's tremendous hatred. Just so you understand.
I mean, we want
tremendous hatred between these two men and between, some of the soldiers, frankly, between the generals. They've been fighting hard for 3 years. I think we have a very good chance of doing it.
Very quickly, if you do walk away, would that mean that you would pull military and intelligence?
I don't want to say that now. It's too early to say that. I don't want to get into that argument.
Let's move on to Canada. You have long talked about making Canada the 51st state. There's obviously a new prime minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who you spoke to. He says that you didn't talk to him in that call about making Canada a 51st state.
No, he called me. He was very nice, and I congratulated him. He had a victory. It's a very close victory. So, there's no majority or anything, so that's going to make things a little bit difficult, I think, for him to run. But he nevertheless had a victory, and he's a very nice man, I think.
Do you plan to talk to him about making Canada a 51st state?
He wants to come and see me. He's going to come this week or next week.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We subsidize Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics.
No.
I asked Mr. Trudeau.
I still need to react to the actual meeting between the two of them, but like we really actually do need their lumber, unless we want to pay like fucking 80%. 100% more for lumber in general and cut down the fucking Rockies and shit. We 100% need the fucking Canadian lumber.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
I told Governor Trudeau, I said, not Prime Minister, Governor. I said, Governor Trudeau, could I ask you one question? Why are we giving you $200 billion? Why are we subsidizing Canada? If Canada was a state, it wouldn't cost us. It would be great. It would be such a great, it would be a cherished state. And if you look at our map, if you look at the geography, I'm a real estate guy at heart. When I look down at that, without that artificial line that was drawn with a ruler many years ago, it was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't even realize what a beautiful country it would be. It would be great. But I don't think the American public wants me to pay $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. Again, remember this. Yeah. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything. We do very little business with Canada. They do all of their business practically with us. They need us. We don't need them.
You and I talked, and I asked you if you would rule out military force to take Greenland, and you said no, you don't rule out anything. Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. God. It could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not
I think
Canada?
It's highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to
just ask permission,
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think
dodging the question.
We are going to protect them, and really we are. But the truth is,
what about Greenland?
Full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our taxpayers.
But you are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people.
You want to give it to Peter Thiel.
We need that for international security. We have Russian boats and we have Chinese boats, gunships all over the place, aircraft carriers, gunships going up and down the coast of Greenland. We need that to be protected. Internationally, we need it.
So you are willing to send U.S. troops to claim a sovereign territory?
I didn't say that. You asked me a question. Would you? Is there a circumstance? It could happen. I doubt it will, but it certainly could happen with respect to Greenland.
Okay, let me ask you about Iran. Your administration has had conversations with Iran. Is the goal of these talks limiting Iran's nuclear program or total?
At least she pronounced it right. It is that it bums me out when I hear Iran, or Iraq. No, it's Iran and it's Iraq. It's as if it has two R's, guys. Okay, for all of you who don't know how to pronounce Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah. Total dismantlement.
Total dismantlement.
That's all you'll accept.
That's all I'd accept. Now there's a new
limiting Iran's nuclear program or total dismantlement.
Total dismantlement.
That's all you'll accept.
That's all I'd accept. Now there's a new theory going out there that Iran would be allowed to have civilian, meaning to make electricity. But I say, they have so much oil. What do they need it for? But I've seen it with other states where they're looking to do something and they have a lot of oil. Iran has tremendous energy. I put sanctions. If you know that, I put pretty strong sanctions on 2 days ago on the oil. The sad part is that if Biden didn't get involved, if we had a competent president, you would have never had the attack on Israel. October 7th would have never taken place. Hamas would have had no money because Iran was broke. And now in a period of 4 years during the Biden administration, they became very rich. They have over $300 billion cash in the bank. And they had no money. They were ready to make a deal with me. And it's very sad. Because of this rigged election, they didn't do it. Just another thing you can mark down to a bad election.
It's interesting what you're saying, though, because Secretary Rubio has said that he would accept, or the idea is there is an openness to accepting peaceful civil nuclear programs.
Well, that's what people, I didn't say anything contradictory. I said that people are talking about that. And this is something that's really pretty new in the dialogue. And I'd have to be, my inclination is to say, what do you need that for? You have a lot of oil.
So you want total dismantlement, bottom line.
I think that I would be open to hearing it. Civilian energy it's called, but civilian energy often leads to military wars, and we don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple deal. I want Iran to be really successful, really great, really fantastic. The only thing they can have is a nuclear weapon. If they want to be successful, that's okay. I want them to be so successful, and the Iranian people are incredible. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon because the world will be destroyed.
Just to recap, we're talking about your desire to claim Canada, Greenland. What do you say to people?
You forgot the Panama Canal.
Panama Canal. What do you say to people who say they voted for you because they want you to end foreign conflict?
Hey, you forgot about this other place I'm fucking threatening that people are making a big deal out of because it's completely fucking unhinged and bullshit and crazy.
What do you say to people who say they voted for you because they wanted you to end foreign conflicts, not start?
I don't see that as conflict. I think that's good for our country. Those things. Look, the Panama Canal was taken over by China effectively. Now China seems to have left, but the Panama Canal. Think of this deal. We built the most expensive object we've ever built in the history of our country. That was not McKinley. They just took away. I just gave him back the name. But McKinley made the money. Teddy Roosevelt spent the money. McKinley gets very little credit, but he made, how he made the money? Through tariffs. He was the big tariff president. Okay, but forget that. We built the Panama Canal. It was the most expensive.
He was also assassinated.
We've never spent it, and it was very successful. And Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1.
Panama insists. Panama says they do control the canal, but we have a couple more questions left tonight.
Panama said what?
Little wrap.
Panama said what?
Panama says they still control it. I know you're saying China. Panama says they still control it.
If you would have gone there about 5.2 months ago, every single sign on the Panama Canal, with the exception of about 15% of them, was in Chinese.
Let me ask you, because we're nearing the end, just a couple more questions here.
I'm not complaining. You keep saying to me like I'm rushing.
No, you're not, and I really appreciate it.
I don't
really
appreciate it. Make you nervous.
Thank you. The Trump organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution, or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that, but it's something that to the best of my knowledge they're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat. But this is not something I'm looking to do.
Constitution, who gives a fuck? I'm popular.
Ideally a great Republican.
I'm actually not popular, but
I'm looking
my
at
base.
it's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else, but there are many people selling the 2028 hat, but this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody, ideally a great Republican to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular. The
Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways. Obviously, the biggest one would be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment. It's really a great compliment.
Has anyone approached you, though, with an actual plan, a way to actually start the process?
Well, there are ways of doing it. There are ways of doing it, and you know the same thing. And if you look at the vice presidential thing,
the only way to do it legally is to remove the amendment that I don't know what number it is, but the amendment that they put in after FDR.
Yeah.
And that would require 2/3 in both chambers, as well as 3/4 of state legislatures. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
Different. Other people say you can have a write-in vote. There's lots of different things. With all of that being said, I want to be a great president.
No, I mean, he tried a coup last time in 2020. So, I mean, it's not like he's above a coup, but it sounds like he's lost interest. I think the years are finally catching up with him after all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will have served. Hopefully, everything will go well. I feel very good. I just did a physical. I took, unlike all other presidents, I took cognitive tests and I aced it. I got 100% correct. And one doctor said, there were numerous doctors watching. And he said, I've never seen that before.
Here's the thing, too.
I didn't take a cognitive. He couldn't have gotten the first question right. But I came out great with the physical, both physically and mentally. And I just want to serve, do a great job. I'll be an 8-year president. I'll be a 2-term president. I always thought that was very important, to be honest with you. You know, if you look at President Polk, he was a 1-termer and he did some great things, actually. Pretty good president. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but there's something about being a 2-term president that was very important to me.
And just to put a button on it, has anyone in an official capacity presented you with, sir, here are some ideas by which you could actually get a constitutional amendment?
In the capacity of being a big supporter of many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
You haven't had official meetings about it?
No. And just like I said, 4 years is a long time. I have almost 4 years. All of these things that we've done more than any president, and even you might admit that. Nobody's done the extent of the things that we've done. Nobody's done this in essentially a little bit more than 3 months. As they say, 100 days. I'm looking to do a great job as president and set the country on the right track, because if I didn't win, this country would have failed. We would have been a failed nation. You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican Party. It's transformed the country. The country would have failed. We would have been a failed nation. You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican Party. It's transformed the country, quite frankly. Political movement in history, MAGA. Make America great again. When you look to the future, Mr. President, do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader? Yes, I do. What gives you? I think it's so strong, and I think we have tremendous people. I think we have a tremendous.
Sadly, he's right. The MAGA movement will not only survive him, it might survive me, in terms of, because MAGA has been around since Reagan, guys. MAGA is only become more explicit because of Trump. It was always there. The deep, dark underbelly of the GOP that a lot of moderate Republicans don't want to admit constitutes the base of the Republican Party. The Confederate flag waving, Bible beating, gun nuts. Mm-hmm. There it is. The specificity that I'm talking about, the details. Who are MAGA? We got to identify the problem. It's not enough to just say, oh, you're a hard right conservative. I don't know, maybe there's some decent people out there who are hard right conservatives, but MAGA, I'm telling you, is those 3 cultural touch points: Confederate flag waving, Bible beating, gun nuts. And anybody who doesn't have an issue with all 3 of those things, doesn't understand the problems that we're facing as a society.
Right. Yeah.
Group of people. We talked about a number of them. You look at Marco, you look at J.D. Vance, who's fantastic. I could name 10, 15, 20 people right now just sitting here. No, I think we have a tremendous party. And you know what I can't name? I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said she's the future of the party.
She's black, huh?
I don't know what they're going to do. And I really believe in a 2-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really
he didn't go after AOC. Notice
no,
that.
Yeah, he's going after the newcomers. The fucking people are actually making a name for themselves and actually getting out there and fucking stirring the pot a little bit. Fucking Jasmine Crockett. Okay. Oh shit!
I don't know.
Yeah, but she's also but Jasmine Crockett's got baggage with crypto too. Remember? We found that
a little
out
bit,
about her when we got to know
sure,
her.
and it's like to what extent that holds her back, remains to be seen. But she's fucking definitely making a name for herself. That's for sure.
And I really believe in a two-party system. Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. It's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. And Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people because he was grossly incompetent. And I think maybe for artificial reasons, the operation something. So maybe that's not that ever happened to old people because he was grossly incompetent. And I think maybe for artificial reasons, an operation something. So maybe that's an artificial. But I know people that are unbelievably sharp and they're older than 87. But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp. He's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden is he's the worst thing to happen to old people.
I know that you are only 100 days in, but as we sit here today,
yeah, I mean,
listen,
Trump, I completely agree. Bernie Sanders should have finished out 2 terms as a successful progressive president.
Yep.
I
had most of my friends who were Democrats who, are just not as, to be honest, just not as politically savvy as me. After Trump won this time, they were like, I really should have shown up for the primaries in 2016 and tried to help Bernie. It should have been Bernie in 2016.
It really should. Yeah. Yep.
It's the worst thing to happen to old people.
I know that you are only 100 days in, but as we sit here today, who do you see as your successor, Mr. President?
Well, it's far too early to say that, but I do have a vice president, and typically it would be, and JD's doing a fantastic job.
He would be at the top of the list.
It could very well be. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them.
He doesn't like him.
See tremendous unity.
Nobody likes.
If that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage.
JD Vance.
We're all staying unbelievable. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them that are great. I also see tremendous unity, but certainly you would say that somebody's the VP. If that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage. But I think the other people would all stay in unbelievably high positions. But, it could be that he'd be challenged by somebody. We have a lot of good people in this party.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top
All
stories on the
right.
NBC News
Hey,
app.
Lester, how are you, man?
Yeah, JD Vance wasn't even his first fucking choice. He wanted to do Doug Burgum, who was a fucking moderate until his fucking sons were like, no, you gotta do JD Vance. It's gotta be JD Vance. You gotta pick JD Vance as your VP. It's just like, how fucking well has that worked out for you, Donnie boy? Like Christ on a cross.
All right, hold on. I wanted to do this one bit.
Sure.
With that's the thing about Morning Joe's. They covered like 3 stories. They covered yes, here it is. Nice. All right, this fucking guy. All right. This is the guy who's in charge
with Scott Bessent
of the opposition party, of the Democratic Party. This is the DNC chair.
Oh, fuck.
Does anyone want to try and answer the question? Who pays tariffs?
Ken Martin.
Reval?
Well, look,
J-Mart?
we know who pays tariffs, and it's hardworking Americans who, put their faith in Donald Trump last year, hoping that he was going to actually make their lives more affordable. He's done just the opposite. These tariffs are going to result in a huge tax on hardworking American people. And, the fact that Secretary Bessent couldn't answer that question, honestly, just shows you what they're doing to try to deceive the American people. These tariffs are going to make it harder for hardworking Americans to actually afford their lives.
Ken Martin, not J-Mart. So that's the answer. And why do you think the Treasury Secretary was having such a hard time answering that question at a hearing where it was so simple? What's going on there?
Well,
do they not want the American people to know that it's going to cost them a lot of money?
Well, I think it's as clear as day what's happening in this country, both with him trying to evade answering a very simple question, right? This is not complicated at all. You put a tax on goods, the people who buy those goods are going to pay more. It's very simple. But this has been happening over the last 100 days with Donald Trump and the Republicans trying to basically put a lid on the lives, on people knowing what's happening to lives around this country. Think about this. The one reason we did the town halls, we've done over 108 town halls now in 45 states, is because Speaker Johnson canceled the town halls because they don't want Americans to know what's actually happening out there right now. So this is just another pattern from this administration of trying to deceive the American people. It's no surprise why, because they made promises that they're now not delivering on.
So, Chairman Martin, the talk about tariffs, which of course very well could be raising prices for many Americans, no matter where you live, comes at the same time as Republicans are putting together their budget bill, which is going to have potentially drastic cuts to a number of services in order to pay for tax cuts that will largely benefit the rich. This feels like a kind of a golden political opportunity for Democrats here. How do you take advantage?
Well, look, I mean, it's not a great position to be in. I mean, let's be honest about this. The impacts that this will have on hundreds of thousands and millions of Americans is going to be devastating. And I know firsthand, my mom had me when she was 15 years old. She raised 4 kids by the time she was 20. We struggled mightily with poverty in and out of shelters. And if it wasn't for Medicaid, and if it wasn't for SNAP, I wouldn't have had health care or food when I was a child. And that is the real life consequence of what we're seeing right now with these cuts. It only takes 3 brave Republicans with a spine to stand up right now and do the right thing, which is to actually put forward a budget that's going to work for working people in this country instead of the billionaires. And that's all they seem to care about right now. So sure, yes, we'll take this fight on. We'll take this fight on every single day because we're going to stand up for hardworking Americans, unlike the Republican Party.
So you just mentioned part of your personal story, your mother becoming pregnant at 15, having you at 15, raised in shelters, in and out of poverty, hanging over your head each and every day. Why is it that so many Democrats seem unable to articulate and address problems that ordinary people would say, oh, yeah, that's like me. What is wrong with the Democratic Party's vocabulary?
Well, listen, I say this serenity prayer every morning. I can only control what I can control. And I can tell you what I'm doing is making sure that I not only tell my story, but we tell the story of so many Americans right now, which is why those town halls are so important, is to actually make sure that we're not just talking about this through a policy lens, but we're hearing from real people who are having real life impacts from these cuts to this government, from this budget that they're trying to put forward. So it is important. To your point, let's get out of our ivory towers and realize that behind every single number on a spreadsheet is an American person's life who at the end of the day is going to be devastated by this budget.
Mr. Chairman, great to have you back on the show this morning. We've been talking the last week or so about this poll from ABC News and Washington Post that asks Americans who's better to solve their problems. Donald Trump's rating is terrible at 37%, but Democrats are 7 points worse at 30%, with 30% of respondents saying neither.
1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I know it's not exactly 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but that's actually how our country kind of breaks down politically in terms of the voting public. You've got 1/3, you've got 1/3 MAGA, then you've got 1/3 moderates, and then you've got 1/3 that are just disgusted with the both parties, and they're usually progressives.
Yeah.
Neither are better at handling the country's main problems. So we've asked some Democratic members, how they turn that number around, how they explain that number. I'm curious what you think about why the Democrats are at 30% and below Donald Trump, and what you do to change it.
Well, we've lost trust with voters, and we talked about this on the show before. We actually have to show folks that we're going to stand up, right? Grow a spine and fight for their lives. I think the reality is part of it is actually making sure that we're communicating our values the right way, connecting our policies that we support back to people's lives. The other part of it is actually delivering when we have power. Part of the challenge is in the past, we've elected Democrats to office, and we haven't delivered on the promises that we've made to the American people about actually improving people's lives and strengthening communities. So look, we have to fight like hell right now. We have to resist Donald Trump with every fiber of our being. We also have to give the American people a sense of the credible alternative. What is it that we would do to actually improve their lives? How will we make their communities better? And when we do that, I think we can win again. But you know what? It starts with being bold. It starts with being authentic. It starts with standing up and fighting for your values, right? My old boss in politics, Paul Wellstone, he said, you should never separate the life you lead from the words you speak. People want authentic, strong leaders who are going to fight for what they believe in.
Which is what? Give me a fucking specific thing. Student loan debt, Medicare for all, hiking the minimum wage.
Yeah. I mean,
not the Green New Deal, the next best deal, like the green best deal, like because Green New Deal's got issues. Like, there's no specificity, Ken. There's no specificity. Like, we're gonna fight for what we want. We're gonna talk about our values. We're gonna talk about the policies and how they relate to the American public. It's like, what policies? You know, Bernie was on. See, enough of this guy. I gotta go. So, but I mean, Bernie was on the news recently and criticizing Chuck Schumer. And Chuck Schumer saying, "We are a united party." Bernie's like, "What are we united behind? What the hell are we united behind? Are we united behind guaranteeing health care? No. Are we united behind minimum wage hike? No. Are we united behind forgiving student loan debt? No.
No
Are
kidding.
we united behind, immigration? A humane immigration process? No, we're not united behind any of the ideas. And we're definitely not united behind the people. At least when we had Obama, we had a person that the party could unite behind, even if people had issues with him. And the issues with him, by the way, came over time. Like, I said it when he came on the scene. I was like, this guy's not ready. I didn't know we're going to.
No, yeah, it should have been. He was not ready. The other guy. It should have been either the other guy.
Barack Obama was Barack Obama. Just so people know, Barack Obama was a senator for 25 months, and then he announced his candidacy for president. 25 fucking months, dude. Are you kidding me? Because he's like, everybody hates Hillary, so then now's my chance. And he wasn't wrong. All right, parting thoughts, and then I got to run.
You gotta go. That's unfortunate.
Are you gonna stick around?
A little bit. I wanted to touch on India v. Pakistan and a little bit about.
The Yemen take it away from. All right, then let me sign off. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like, share, subscribe if you're not already. Find me on Blue Sky. That's the only social that I'm really working on. I know I should be on all of them, but I'm not. Thanks for a great show, Stat Pat. Really appreciate it. And dude, let's kick up the tires on Morning Bro. Yeah.
Honestly,
let's try to do some Morning Bro tomorrow.
Yeah,
and maybe next week if you can.
I got nothing going on tomorrow morning. I'm in between jobs. I got fucking let go from my primary place of employment, so I am looking. I'm in between jobs. I'm looking to see who will hire me, basically. But I got some free time, basically. So
sure,
I'll reach out to you tomorrow morning if you want to go live, for sure.
All right, guys. Until then, we're reminding you that you don't get change in America by asking nicely. Head over to Stat Pat's channel if you're on mine and you want to keep listening to him because he's going to talk about India, Pakistan. All right, y'all. Take care.
Yeah.